To probe alleged plot to remove the IGP as part of a conspiracy to rig the 2024 elections captured in a leaked tape.
That a new IGP is put in place who will collude with a sitting government to get a certain outcome. That must concern this parliament. It borders on the security and the stability of our country. That this house wants to know who are those involved.
We tell you about the spirited debate on the floor of Parliament today, with the Interior Minister forced to agree to the setting up of this bipartisan probe.
Let it not be said that the president planning to remove IGP, when I know it's not true, it's my duty to put out there, it is not true. Subject to those, I have no difficulty in an investigation of the leaked material.
This is Top Story with Evans Mensah.
And Top Story is always brought to you by Vodafone. Parliament is tonight set to probe the alleged plot to remove the IGP as part of the conspiracy to rig the 2024 elections captured in the leaked tape. We will hear from the Speaker of Parliament shortly, who ruled on the matter following a spirited debate on the floor. But first, listen to the Deputy Minority Leader, Emmanuel Amakofibwa, who made an urgent statement on the floor on the leaked tape.
Mr. Speaker, in that leaked tape, and the reason why it's important, borders on two very important things. A critical institution, which is the Ghana Police Service, and the head, which is the IGP, and the stability of our country and our democracy. In the said leaked tape, Mr. Speaker, alleged leaked tape, there were purported senior members of the MPP who had met allegedly a senior police officer discussing the Asin North election, the role of the IGP, and how he did not lead the effort in allowing the MPP. When there's a leaked tape, when the leaked tape, there's issues around the leaked tape, has to do with the IGP, the sitting IGP, and the attempt to remove him, and the issues about 2024 election, and what must be done to make sure that a new IGP is put in place who will collude with a sitting government to get a certain outcome. That must concern this parliament. It borders on the security and the stability of our country. And it's very important that the minister is here, that this house, and I'm happy he's here, that this house wants to know who are those involved, what is the authenticity of that leaked tape. We need to find out, and I think all I'm asking, Mr. Speaker, is that we ask the Minister of State, who is responsible for this sector, to look into the matter.
Let me take you to Parliament now. My parliamentary correspondent, Kweku Asante, is on the line with me. Kweku, while all this debate was happening, the Interior Minister happened to be on the floor himself. I wonder what his reaction was.
In fact, throughout this debate, he was so itchy to speak. There were so many times that the Speaker of Parliament had to tell him to sit down and that he would get to him to make his comments. When it got to him to speak, he said that first, he wanted to set the record straight and that he has reiterated that to the media the previous day, that the president and this government are satisfied with the work the IGP has done. There is no plot among government officials or the government itself to remove him. But of course, that is the matter he wants to put across. But he is not opposed to any committee, whether in Parliament or outside of it, to go to the bottom of that leaked tape.
Let me state clearly that as Minister for the Interior, it is my duty to make sure that there is peace and security in the country. And therefore, investigating any piece of information, I have no problem with it in principle at all. At all. But let it not be said that the president planning to remove IGP. When I know it's not true, it's my duty to put out there, it is not true. And we are satisfied with the performance of that. Subject to those, I have no difficulty in an investigation of the leaked material.
So he supports the probe. That's him.
Yeah.
What about the other majority members who also debated this?
In fact, they also are not opposed in principle to this idea of investigating that leaked tape. They are, however, concerned that it appears the NDC are seeking to politicize it. They are seeking to make it a thing of the government. And so we heard that from the local government minister, Dan Bochi, and MP for Kwakwe Central, Patrick Boama, who are all opposed to the idea of investigating, but are against politicizing this issue.
An alleged tape. So until such a time that is determined, you cannot jump into such a conclusion and state that they are using that to undermine the sovereign will of the people.
So to get the impression that an IGP can do something extraordinary wonderful to assess a party to win election is wrong. If there's a tape and you want it to be investigated, I in principle have no problem. But to go ahead and give the impression that a particular IGP presence or not, or whether he's office or not, will determine the outcome of election is wrong.
And the minority side, Kweku?
Well, they say that despite all this that the majority MPs had been arguing, they believe that the majority wanted to hide something. In fact, we heard from the former minority leader, Haruna Idrisu himself, who had some stellar words to say about the performance of the IGP. We also heard from James Tagalga and also MP for Isinafo South, Eric Opoku, who all said that the majority side were not opposed to this idea of setting up a committee. Then why were they even on their feet in the first place?
Police officers involved in a conspiracy to rig the upcoming elections. Mr. Speaker, it should be a matter that should engage the attention of this House. And we're saying that Mr. Speaker makes appropriate directives so that this matter can be gone into and the veracity or otherwise of the audio authenticated. And if it is authenticated, those behind this whole thing should be punished. They should be prosecuted to serve as a deterrent.
Because the identity of the persons are not known, it is only through such forensic thorough audit you will establish those behind it. And Mr. Speaker, we do so not just for the professional integrity of the IGP and to preserve and protect him and empower him to ensure that elections in this country, even tomorrow, are conducted in a manner. Mr. Speaker, I'm sure you have always taught us that the word free and fair have constitutional meaning. When the Constitution says that elections shall be conducted in a manner which is free. Free from what? Free from fear, free from intimidation, free from influence. It has a meaning. So free and then fair. So, Mr. Speaker, to preserve our democracy and to protect the professional integrity of the Inspector General of Police, and to appreciate what Dan Parry is doing in preserving this, we are requesting for a parliamentary inquiry into this matter.
And we are only asking for investigations, nothing more than investigations, so that we can expose, we can know those people behind it. If we are not behind it, why are you worried? If we are not behind it, why are you worried? Assist us, agree that we investigate into this matter, and just investigation, you want to impede investigation. What are you hiding? What are you people hiding? What are you hiding? Mr. Speaker, we just want investigation. They should agree that we investigate into this matter to discover those involved.
And Kweku, from what I hear, the Speaker in the end ruled that the committee must be formed, but there's a question around its term of reference.
Exactly. The Speaker actually said that given everything that he has heard on the floor, he believes that there were more questions than answers and that something needed to be answered. And so a committee will be set to investigate this. But he wanted first to get the statement that had been read by the member on the floor because it was an urgent statement. And that will inform this committee's terms of reference and whether or not this will be referred to the Defense and Interior Committee or a special committee will be set up for this purpose.
There's the need for an investigation. But going by the standing orders, I have to give proper direction as to the nature, the type of investigation. And so going by the same standing order 72, the last sentence says, the terms of any such proposed statement shall first be submitted to Mr. Speaker. So I will urge the maker of the urgent statement to submit in writing the terms of the proposed statement which he just gave us notice. This will guide me to give the direction as to how the investigation or inquiry will be conducted by the appropriate committee of the House. And so I direct that a statement be submitted in writing to me to assist me perform my duties.
And Kweku, do we have any idea if this particular condition has been satisfied by the minority side?
In fact, at the time the Speaker was saying this, the minority said they were ready. The maker of the statement was actually waving a printed copy of the statement and said that as soon as Mr. Speaker was out of the chair, he was going to submit that to him. I've been running inquiries. I just left the Speaker's office. I do not have confirmation yet if that has been sent. But at the time the Speaker of Parliament was making this directive, he had a printed copy of the statement and those terms clearly outlined in it, ready to deliver it to the Speaker.
Kweku, thank you very much. We'll get back to Parliament pretty shortly to try and get some clarity from the minority side what they themselves believe to be the term of reference for this particular committee that the Speaker believes must be set up. I want to quickly bring in right now on this developing story. Colonel Festus Abuaji is a security analyst, joins us right now. Colonel, thanks for your time here on Top Story. I wonder if a bipartisan parliamentary committee is the right forum for this particular probe, considering that you would need to first establish the authenticity of this leaked tape, and it raises questions whether Parliament has the capacity to do that. Well, we lost him there. We'll try and get him back on the telephone line and get some clarity on this fast-moving story. First broke with the circulation of this leaked tape that many have suggested had on it one individual who is a senior member of the governing New Patriotic Party and some police officers. It's now a subject of a debate on the floor of Parliament. And has been debated quite rigorously today, and we've now seen that the Speaker of Parliament indeed has backed the setting up of this committee. I want to go onto the phone lines and go to Parliament now and bring in the ranking member on the Defence and Interior Committee in Parliament on the minority side. James Agaga joins us now. Mr. Agaga, thanks for your time here on Top Story.
Thanks for having me, Evan.
So this finally comes to the floor. Your leadership make the strong case. The Speaker, though, agreeing to set up the committee, wanted your side to bring what you consider to be the terms of reference for this particular committee. Have you satisfied that yet?
Yes, Evans. You know, the House sat from morning and rose for the day not quite long ago. And so we haven't had time to submit the terms of reference requested by the minister. But that will be done tomorrow very early in the morning as one of the first things we will do. We are very, very, very interested in having this matter investigated and will honor the Speaker's request to afford him the opportunity to give appropriate directives, and then we will get started.
There is a fundamental question which I had also came up on the floor about first establishing the authenticity of this particular leaked tape. Do you have the capacity as members of Parliament to do that?
Evans, Parliament may not have the resource and the capacity to make certain determinations. But once again, if you look at the 92 Constitution and the standing orders of Parliament, we have the power to subpoena witnesses, including expert witnesses, to appear before the various committees of the House and assist the committees to make certain determinations or establish factual situations. And so I therefore, guided by the extent of power of the committees. I do not see the issue of lack of capacity and resource as something that should hinder the committee the speaker would eventually set up from accomplishing the task that would be assigned to it.
How quickly do you want this done? As you specify what the terms of reference should be, would you also be proposing to the speaker? The speaker has that invitation that he's extended to you now, proposing how quickly this should be resolved?
Well, I think we cannot take the discretion from the speaker in a matter like this. We'll leave it for the speaker to determine. But as you are aware, when the committee starts its work and at some point it becomes necessary for the committee to ask for an extension of time, the committee would always make those applications for the speaker's consideration. But I can assure you that we, as the minority group in Parliament, are interested in having this matter dealt with expeditiously because of the threats this whole leaked video portends for the very survival of our country's democratic dispensation. We are citizens of the country and have a collective duty to ensure that the Constitution is preserved, which is why this matter should be of interest to all well-meaning Ghanaians. It's a very serious matter, Evan.
On the floor today, I had Damboche and also one other majority MP raise the question about the politicization of this particular issue, suggest that the minority side may be politicizing this. How do you respond to that accusation?
Yes, Evans, with the greatest of respect to Honorable Damboche and my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, I mean, look, who is politicizing what? An audio is leaked, and in the audio you hear voices saying that, look, an IGP needs to be replaced, because if it's not replaced, they will not win the upcoming election. And so straight away you can tie this into election security management. So what it simply means is that they are not happy with the way the current IGP has managed election security so far. They think that it should have been aiding tax within their party, to suppress voters or what. So the security issues that have been raised in that audio, I think should be condemned by all. We never said anything which is not captured in that audio. When we made arguments on the floor today, we said, look, we cited the examples of Ayawasu, West Wagon, Techiman, to drum home the point that we cannot take our election security management for granted. If you consider the crucial position an IGP occupies in our country's security management, then you would understand why this matter is very serious. See, the IGP is the chairman of the election security task force, made up of all the security heads, plus the chief of the defense staff. They are all there to support the Inspector General of Police. But as a matter of fact, the Inspector General of Police is the chairman of that task, if you like, call it the chairman of that security task force. So if the arguments are being made, I heard Honorable Damboche say IGPs do not determine the outcomes of elections. But Evan, where the country's security apparatus is used to suppress voters or to aid the commission of electoral malpractices, right? The snatching of ballot boxes, shootings, killings. When you fire a gunshot at a polling station, you know what happens. You throw the situation on the ground at that polling station into a state of pandemonium. People will start running helter-skelter for their lives. Now, when people are running for their lives at the polling station, tell me, how can agents perform their role of ensuring the integrity of ballot boxes, etc., at that same polling station? We saw these things happen at Ayawaso West Wagon, where there was a total breakdown in security because the police on that occasion were not able to confront thugs who had been armed to the teeth. They wore uniforms that had never been seen before, and even threatened police officers.
Mr. Gaga, stay with me. I just also been rejoined by Colonel Festus Abwaji, who is a security analyst on this matter. Mr. Abwaji, do you concur that Parliament is the right forum for this probe?
Well, first of all, thanks, Evans, for having me. The fact of the matter is that the conspiracy at the heart of the audio tape is against the IGP, who is the head of the police administration. So even per the police procedure of they investigating themselves that we say we don't agree with or to, it will not be very appropriate for the police to be the only institution that probes this matter. Let's also remember that the police service is part of the government structure. It's part of the executive. It's a coercive tool that the executive uses, although largely to maintain public law and order. Therefore, Parliament, which is a check and balance to the powers of the executive, is the appropriate institution to probe into the allegations or the statements being made on the audio file. And the other reason is that I think there are people who are saying that, including the Minister of Interior, who yesterday said, oh, this is nothing at all and the government is not going to act on it and so on. That is not the idea.
Well, today on the floor, he actually come around to the supporting the setting up of the committee on the floor.
Yes. The whole idea is that you have men and women in uniform who are obliged to be apolitical. And they are not part of the structures that have been constitutionally established to appoint and disappoint inspectors general of police. That is a prerogative of the president upon the advice, one, of the Council of State and the Police Council. So who are these individuals who are peddling influence on the grounds that this IGP has not helped the party to rig elections? And elections being one of the critical, in fact, it is the only pathway to political power in the country. So when men and women in uniform are now subverting the Constitution, that's a very serious matter. And I disagree with anybody who thinks that this is not a very serious matter and it must be left to, rest in peace and so on and so forth. Thirdly, I have argued that the conspiracy in this audio tape is very much part of the paradigm of state capture, which includes the intrusion of political elite into professional institutions. Otherwise, how would police officers have the courage, the impudence to suggest that they could go to the president and ask him to remove the IGP, and indeed assert that they had tried previously several, except that the head of state had not accepted that kind of influence peddling. It's very, very serious.
Yeah, and that raises the question, kind of, about, so this particular probe, what should be its terms of reference? Should it just simply look into authenticating and identify the individuals, or should it have a broader view on looking at what is in there, but the issues, for example, that you just touched on about the politicization of the services, and how then that plays into some of the conversations we had on this tape?
Come in again, please.
I'm asking about, based on what you've said, about it raises further questions. What should be the terms of reference for this particular committee? Should it simply, look at authenticating it and who are the individuals there, or should you take a
The,
broader view?
the authentication should be part of the probe. The allegations, the conspiracy, let me put it out, the conspiracy at the heart of the audio file is what is to be investigated, because I've argued that it is subversive. It subverts the authority and integrity of the police institution. It subverts the integrity and authority of the executive president. It also subverts and undermines the Constitution as a whole. Because we all know that the Constitution has prescribed the institutions and the processes that should lead to the appointment and disappointment of an IGP. And these two, the civilian and the police at the center of this audio file, are not part of that architecture. So it needs to be probed. Now, regarding the authentication, those who are making the case that it could be artificial intelligence and so on and so forth, I think they are trying to belittle the case. So we have an audio file which shows or includes background noises, including a telephone call that came into one of the participants of the conversation during the conversation.
But you know, in today's age, in the era of deep fakes, it's possible.
No. So far, at least I'm not an IT expert. But when you clone Evans Mensah's voice, you can then get Evans Mensah to make a monologue. This is a dialogue between two people with background noises, including a telephone call that came in. So authenticating the audio file includes subpoenaing the call records of those two persons. And I've heard people who say they know them. They know the civilian who used to be the regional chairperson of the MPP in the north.
Yeah, I mean, this is something we don't want to identify people, obviously, because this is a subject of a probe, and we don't want to throw people's name until we've gotten to a place where the parliament, the institution indeed legally mandated to do so, puts their name out there. That's why I wanted to stay away from that. But you're making a substantive point that this can be authenticated. It's possibly not one generated by artificial intelligence.
Through forensic methods. For instance, if they were sitting at one place, there is a timestamp on the audio file with a date. The call records will show that at that material time, the commissioner of police and this political entity were at the same place, or whoever was making that allegation was at the same place with the political entity. But Evans, let's be frank, we have had audio files in the past, and one that has been cited is a former chair of the NDC, Ofosu Ampo,
which is in court, actually.
Yes, who was invited to come and answer questions. So why should this be an exception? With precedent, we have set a practice in motion. Anytime we have such incidents, it stands to good reason to follow that procedure until they are exonerated. Unless, of course, I have pointed out that it should not be the prerogative of the president to pronounce anybody not guilty. This must be a professional investigation.
And as it stands now, Parliament will lead that. In the interest of time, let me quickly give a quick second to Mr. Agaga. Mr. Agaga, so give us a sense of what the terms of reference will be, because you're going to be submitting this to the Speaker. You possibly should have an idea what it should be by now. Can you give us a sense what this will be?
But first of all, the scope of work of the committee, and those are going to be in the form of suggestions. Like Colonel has indicated, I think the investigation ought to be multifaceted. So we would not just be interested in the call for the replacement of an IGP, but of course the work of the committee could result in proposals for law reform. Maybe we need to take a second look at the mode of appointment and, if you like, disappointment of an IGP. We could make proposals at the end of the day for those reforms to be, legislated upon. That is just one angle. But most important of all, what recommendations can be made to ensure that, look, when it comes to the management of election security in this country, the interferences that the conspiracy in the leaked audio smacks of are dealt with in a manner that doesn't subvert the will of the people. I think that some of the proposals or references that would be submitting to the Right Honourable Speaker would cover some of the things I have just mentioned.
Enumerated. Thank you very much. That's James Agaga. Is a ranking on the Defense and Interior Committee. Earlier, I had Colonel Festus Sabwaji, retired, who is a security analyst. Where do you stand on this probe? The Parliament is now about to commence. Send me a WhatsApp 055-1111-997. Newsnight starts now. In the next 60 minutes here on Newsnight, minority MPs to be marked absent whenever they decide to boycott sittings to solidarize with their colleagues in court, with the real risk of their seats now being up to be declared vacant.
And so the burden will now shift onto you as a group to show evidence that my good self has granted you permission to absent yourselves in writing. And so I think the table office is right in saying that you've been absent.
We have details of the minority MP's demand to be captured as absent with permission. That will, in effect, will mean they escape that constitutional clause that may declare their seats vacant.
And yesterday's absence was a boycott. So I thought that will be captured for the record.
My brother from North Tongue asking for you to create a line stating that they were absent to accompany our colleague in court, I don't think has any place in our votes and proceedings.
Also tonight, Defense Ministry vows to make Ghana unattractive for terrorism as the armed forces begin flashing out suspected terrorists from border communities.
We as a country have a duty to make sure that we provide security for our people. And so as long as they continue to be here, we will do our part not to allow them to have free movement.
Details, as the ministry says, so far 20,000 persons have been repatriated, with more suspected in the coming days. In business,
Mid-year budget review presentation moved forward to Tuesday, July 25, after Speaker of Parliament directed that the July 27 date should be changed because the House will go on recess on August 3.
And in sports, the Ghana Football Association launches the national football philosophy dubbed Ghana's Football DNA in Accra.
Also tonight on Newsnight, MPP's second highest decision-making body to determine fate of 10 presidential hopefuls. We'll hear from the General Secretary of the party, who is promising the National Council will be fair in its decision.
Our duty as referees is to make sure that the processes leading to the election are also free, fair, transparent, and also peaceful, so that even those who will lose will understand that they went into a fair contest.
Meanwhile, one of the presidential aspirants and former Trade Minister, Dr. Kofi Konadu-Apreku, has been speaking up about how he was sidelined by the Akufo-Addo government after promising him ministerial appointments.
I worked very hard. I went to everywhere that I could go, but I was not offered any position.
Would you have wanted one?
If it was offered to me, yes, I would have accepted it.
You want to stay with us for the details here on Newsnight. We have all of that for you and more after this.
Credits where you get up to 20% of your money back before. Make I tell you about Vodafone's demo promo. See, anytime you recharge a demo, you get up to 20%, whether it be short code or your Vodafone cash wallet, or you use credit transfer to your number or someone else. And now you be high tech, so you use my Vodafone app or any payment app. However you do, Vodafone go send you up to 20% cash back. Into your Vodafone cash account. We'll reload here. But then you enter. Top up your airtime with 5 Ghana CD or more in Vodafone's demo promotion and receive 20% of your money back straight into your Vodafone cash wallet. Recharge and cash out in the Vodafone demo promotion.
Vodafone, further together.
I've got Bell Pack and I won't let go.
My name is Nana McBrown. Many people think I get what I want anytime because I am popular. No, that is not true. It is because me and Kasano, I like the best, and when I find it, I stick to it. I have found Bell Pack Tea Roll, and I'm stuck with it. It is soft but not weak, strong but not hard. It is just perfect. Bell Pack Tea Roll is smooth and gentle on the skin. Same as Bell Pack Kitchen Towel. It cleans in one wipe. You can soak, squeeze, and clean again. One Bell Pack Kitchen Towel lasts longer and saves you money. It's time you switch to Bell Pack today and experience the perfect paper tissue. Say pocket tissue, table napkins, tea roll, and a kitchen towel. Paper chow. Bell Pack is simply the best. Bell Pack, just perfect.
To be a Bell Pack distributor, call 055-11-44400. Another quality product from Bell Aqua.
Nothing feels so good like Bell Pack.
You're live here on Newsnight. It's on Joy 99.7 FM. The minorities' quest to have their names captured as absent with permission for their boycotts has been shot down by the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Babing. The minority had, in a fierce argument on the floor, demanded that they be captured as absent with permission whenever they boycott sittings to go to court to support their colleagues facing prosecution. But the Speaker of Parliament denied the request, describing it as ill-conceived. We'll hear from him shortly, but first listen to North Tong MP Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa raising the issue on the floor.
Following honourable members were absent, and then he proceeds to list the names of all of us on this side of the aisle. Mr. Speaker, we have indicated that anytime our colleagues appear before the courts, we will boycott proceedings. And yesterday's absence was a boycott. So I thought that that will be captured for the record. So it's not as though we just absented ourselves. Because I recall that the votes and proceedings has captured previously walkout and boycotts. So I rise to seek your guidance on this matter so that just for accuracy's sake, so the impression is not created that we just are absenting ourselves and are not working. At least there should be a line that the minority caucus boycotted proceedings, just for the accuracy of our records. Because in time past, that has been the case, and the table office has captured that accurately. So I'm wondering why that is not happening this time. So, Mr. Speaker, I rise to seek your guidance in that direction.
Kweku Asante is a parliamentary correspondent, joins us live right now. Kweku, I'm curious what the majority members, what their position was on this.
So Evans, available leader on the side of the majority, Patrick Boama, first spoke and said that Okudzeto Ablakwa and his minority colleagues were clearly out of line, and that if they wanted to be captured as absent without permission, they knew what to do, and that if they boycotted without coming to the floor at all, then the table office was right in capturing them in that sense. We also heard from the Ambochi local government minister who agreed with Patrick Boama and said that the minority claims were simply unfounded.
Right from page 1, those members who were present in the House were marked present. Those who were absent were recorded as having been absent, and those who were absent with permission were recorded as members who were absent with permission, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, boycotts happen when members enter the chamber and sign as having attended upon the House. Sometimes members will come, sign in, and walk out. When the caucus is boycotted, they notify the Speaker. In this instance, members in their right were absented themselves to solidarize with our colleague, which is within the right of the minority caucus. So my brother from North Tongue asking for you to create a line stating that they were absent to accompany our colleague in court, I don't think has any place in our votes and proceedings. Once you are absent, you are absent.
When it comes to voting in the House, I'm not aware that Right Honorable Speaker, you accept when a leader of each side, me as a leader of the minority and my people, we are voting no. And then when he says that, you record 137, no. Do we do that in this House? Me, Dr. Atuforse, me and as a minority leader, me and my people, we are voting no. Then you record 137 because he's the leader. Then that's it, that we take it. Do we do that in this House? So we don't vote individually. Mr. President, Mr. Right Honorable Speaker, we will represent constituencies. This morning, I have signed in front of the name of my constituency that I have attended Parliament. I'm here. And that's what we all do. So when people attend Parliament, they sign, it is recorded that they have attended Parliament. If they don't do it, they have absented themselves.
How did the minority side, and understand that the leadership on the minority side vehemently opposed some of the arguments we've just heard there, Kweku?
Yes, on their behalf, Ahmed Ibrahim, the deputy minority whip, spoke and said that there's actually precedent that in the past, when there has been such boycotts, the votes and proceedings have captured the record in those manner and not simply to mark them as absent.
When the minority leader, Honorable Oseiche Mensah Bonsu, said the entire minority were not going to be part of the business, he did not say anything. And therefore, that decision from the minority leader was binding on all of them. And he had no voice on the floor on that day. So if the Honorable Atuforse said it here that the entire minority were boycotting Parliament, Mr. Speaker, all of us are bounded by his word. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, if you go to our standing orders, clearly that position by him must be registered on the votes and proceedings. That yesterday, the minority caucus boycotted proceedings on this floor. And Mr. Speaker, with permission, I refer you to Order 34. Order 34.1. The minutes of proceedings of Parliament, votes and proceedings, shall be a record of the attendance of members at each sitting. Mr. Speaker, the record of attendance of yesterday's sitting was that the minority boycotted and we were not here. And it must be reflected on the votes and proceedings. That is what Honorable Okujato is saying. Mr. Speaker, why should we belabor this? And Mr. Speaker, to proceed, the Honorable Kennedy Ohina Japan yesterday was in German North. He has been registered as present. Honorable Minister for Gender, when he was being looked for to lay a paper, he was nowhere to be found. Ministers who were absent and they could not lay their paper, and the majority leader laid their paper on their behalf, are registered as present. We who boycotted are registered as absent without permission. Mr. Speaker, we did not only boycott, we sought your leave and your permission to boycott, and therefore we must be registered as absent with permission. And the permission was that we boycotted. That was our reason for not being present. But if you say just absent, somebody take it and you say that we were not here. Mr. Speaker, I think you should rule us out of order.
Well, Kweku still with me. Kweku, this debate is important because it really borders on whether or not the minority MPs can continue to hold on to their seats in Parliament if indeed they breach the constitutional threshold. And Article 97, 1C makes the point that a member of Parliament shall vacate his seat in Parliament, see if he is absent without the permission in writing of the Speaker, and he is unable to offer a reasonable explanation to the Parliamentary Committee on Privileges from 15 sittings of a meeting of Parliament during any period that Parliament has been summoned to meet and continues to meet. And you see in there why the minority MPs are asking the Speaker today to note down their names as absent with permission. Because if you have the permission of the Speaker, then you escape the penalty as imposed by this constitutional clause. And it begs the question what the Speaker's ruling has been on this today.
Exactly, Evans. And the context is also that Gatekwesin's trial is expected to be day to day. Just this week, the High Court has refused that stay of execution application. So if it's going to be day to day, and let's say they have 15 days consecutively, and the minority boycotts all these proceedings, then they would have fallen foul of 97(1)(c) that you've just read. And that is why it is so important for them that the Speaker reads this and construes their boycotting as absent to that permission. But the Speaker of Parliament flatly refused the invitation. He rejected the contention of the minority that they were being absent with permission. He gave them guidance and said that from now on, if they wanted to be absent, they should write to the Speaker for permission, but that these 2 days of boycott that has happened in the past will simply not be captured as absent without permission.
A member, if he wants not to attend, but wants to be recorded as being absent because a permission has been granted, that permission has to be granted by the Speaker in writing. That is what guides attendance to the House. So you can choose to attend and you can choose not to attend. Now, when you choose not to attend, depending on your own action, you could be marked as absent, and that means without permission, or absent with permission. Now, the with permission means there's evidence, not oral, but in writing, that the Speaker has granted you that permission to be absent. And so the burden will now shift onto you as a group to show evidence that my good self has granted you permission to absent yourselves in writing. We have 2 documents. One is the official report. The official report will definitely capture what the minority leader stated that day, that any time a colleague of yours is to attend court proceedings, you will solidarize with that colleague and you will be absent to participate with that colleague in the court proceedings. And so I think the table office is right in saying that you've been absent without permission. That is what our rules say.
Well, as it stands now, we currently don't know what the decision of the minority will be. Kweku, do we have that clarity at all as far as this ruling on the back of this, whether or not they are still going to go to court, all of them, when the cases are called?
Yes, Evans. They say they are going to keep solidarizing with their colleagues, but that the Speaker has clearly now given them guidance and said they can put in a permission, and if he is so minded to accept the permission, he can grant them permission to be absent. But that is completely in the bosom of the Speaker. The Speaker can reject that leave of absence request that they can put in, but they say that they are not going to back down on this demand of theirs, that the prosecution of their colleagues are dropped, or they will continue boycotting whenever there are court cases.
Kweku, thank you very much. And later tonight on PM Express at 9 p.m., we'll be speaking to the minority leader, Dr. Kesela Tofosing. You want to join us live, exclusive conversation with him. You don't want to miss that. A lot to go through once he joins us. It's going to be live also on our Facebook page, also on YouTube channel, and across our many social media platforms as well. On this subject, though, I want to bring in Dr. Rashid Dramani, who is Executive Director of the Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs. Thank you, sir, for your time here on Newsnight. So you raised the issues when the minority first announced that they will be embarking on this line of action, including leaving Parliament altogether to go and solidarize. What do you make of the Speaker's ruling that they would have to now, if they choose to leave, they would then be marked as absent without permission?
Well, Evans, I saw this coming because if you remember, I was saying that if they are not careful, they will be in breach of their own standing orders. You quoted the Constitution. I mean, their orders, Order 16.1, is also very clear about this. What I have been saying is that I think they don't have to mix the personal legal battles of, some individual members with their representational role. It is clear that this is not a popular kind of strategy that the minority has adopted. So I wasn't surprised. And I don't think that the Right Honorable Speaker can continue to grant them, even if he would, permission every day for them to leave the business of the House and go and attend to any court proceedings. And Evans, we've also been saying that, their presence in the House is very critical for the oversight role that we expect of a responsible opposition. At least taking a cue from what we saw during the e-levy, as well as some other kind of bills that went before the House. Now, the majority leader has sent a signal that if they continue to be absent, key decisions will be taken without them. And these decisions will be binding on our republic, with any consequences, if negative, on Ghanaians. So really, I think the minority would have to revisit this strategy. And I think also, like I've been saying, Evans, I think there's the need for some conversation within the leadership so that, some cool heads will prevail and some kind of solution is found to this, because clearly this is unsustainable.
Doc, thank you very much. And where do you stand on this yourselves? Send me a WhatsApp, 055-1111-997. I'll share your views with the rest of the world pretty shortly. Now, the Defense Ministry has vowed to make Ghana an unattractive location for suspected terrorists trooping in from neighboring Burkina Faso, Cote d'Ivoire, and Togo. The Ghana Armed Forces is leading the operation to send illegal immigrants and others living unlawfully in the country's border communities back to where they came from. In an interview with Joy News, Deputy Defense Minister Animwaa Anim-Addo says some of the suspected terrorists disguise themselves as nomadic headsmen. He says so far, over 2,000 persons have been repatriated, with more expected in the coming days.
Most of them are seeking refuge in Ghana. And so we have droves of headsmen, terrorists, some members of these terrorism groups, illegal immigrants, finding their way to Ghana. Sad thing is that we have some of these people already within the country living in makeshift structures. And then some of them are also putting up with some family. The saddest of that is that we have families in Ghana who are taking monies from these people and giving them, places as farmland and all that. Some communities in Upper West, Upper East, Northeast, and then the Northern and Savannah regions, this problem is getting really bad. And so the armed forces is helping RESEC to really deal with this issue of not allowing, these illegal immigrants and the headsmen and these terrorism groupings free movement. We as a country have a duty to make sure that we provide security for our people. And so as long as they continue to be here, we will do our part not to allow them to have free movement, so that they can do whatever they want to do. Just about yesterday, we have almost 20,000 illegal immigrants and Fulani herdsmen and all that. Then you'll be surprised. One person actually brought in about 15,000 cattle. Yes, you know what that means. They will have to find a place for them to graze. And so farmers are also going to suffer and all that. It is the duty of the Ghana Armed Forces and RESEC to provide security for our Ghanaians. And that we will do, no matter what it takes, we will do to really protect our citizenry. I must also plead with our people living in these communities. To as it were in Ghana, they say, shine your eye. And so the call to really report everything you see and everything you hear, it's more important now than ever.
Joining me right now is the National Coordinator of the West African Network for Peace Building, Ghana office, Albert Yang. We'll also be speaking pretty shortly to the Deputy Defense Minister, Kofi Amankwa Amenu, who will join us. But we've been hearing from some members on the Parliament's Defense and Interior Committee who are also concerned about the situation with the suspected terrorists in the country, but also worried that innocent individuals who may have come into this country genuinely because they may have been displaced in their countries of origin may become victims. Peter Lanchinu Tobu is a member of the Defense and Interior Committee. He wants such individuals protected. People who have come here genuinely displaced from countries as a result of conflicts there?
IDP is internally displaced person. When you cross an international border, you become a refugee, and you are so vulnerable. And in that vulnerable state, because we are signatory to all these international conventions, we have the responsibility to provide them the desired security. We have the responsibility to provide them support. We have responsibility to ensure that they have livelihood. If we don't do that, we have a bunch of people in the 60,000. We have a bunch of 60,000 people who can actually become a national security threat because they can be accessible to terrorist recruitment, and they live within your territory. So let's, as human as we are, be humane in dealing with refugees. It is today that they are called refugees, and you are living in your country. Tomorrow, when you are also out of your country, you can also be called a refugee. Give to them.
Let's get a quick update on the repatriation efforts currently happening. And thankfully, the Deputy Defense Minister, Kofi Amankwa Menu, rejoins us for a conversation on this. Thank you very much, Mr. Amankwa Menu. We also have, as I said earlier, the WANEBS, West African Network for Peace Building's National Coordinator, also with us. Mr. Amankwa Menu, what's the update tonight? More of these illegal immigrants in this country sent out today?
I can barely hear you.
Any better? Can you hear me?
Yes, it's better now.
Okay, I wanted to get an update on the repatriation efforts tonight. Have we seen more individuals repatriated today?
Well, Evans, obviously looking at the situation, we are going to have a lot of people coming in. I mean, because of the intensity of the armed operations in the surrounding countries. And so once we have some stability and peace here, obviously this will be the destination for people who are seeking refuge. And so, yes, a lot more will continue to come. I think that we are yet to be updated with how many people have come in so far. To now or today, we haven't gotten the numbers yet, but I am sure to get the number before I go to bed.
In terms of the repatriation, though, how are we sifting those who are possibly here genuinely because they've been displaced, and that's a concern that has been raised, and those who are here for ulterior motive?
Yes, we have immigration there. We have these are refugee people from the UN refugees, something. They are all there. So it is not just a few people or the military who are there. We have all these people there, and they are taking time to also go through and then see through and really ask questions and then see who are genuine and who are not. Our fear really is that, those who are not genuine will always use unapproved route. They will not go through the defined or the proper route to get in. They will use the unapproved route to try to get in. And we are looking at all such places to try to nip any incident in the bud before it raises its ugly head.
In the interim, where are these people being kept, those you're looking to repatriate?
Well, I don't have that before me, but obviously we will do the right thing to make sure that we provide them with all that we need to provide them. Because remember, whatever we do, we first of all will try to protect our citizenry, protect the Ghanaian people. But we will do this having at the back of our mind that we live in a global village, and we also have to adhere to all the international conventions and all that. So we will do whatever we do. We will situate it in this context. And so we will not do anything untoward, anything inhumane. We will do that which is right for those who are coming in. But trust me, if somebody is disguises himself or herself, a terrorist disguises himself or herself and then come into the country, we have every right to protect our citizens, and we have every right to deal with such people, and that we will deal with them.
And that begs the question, what assessment have we done in terms of the risks, the risk levels we're possibly dealing with the potential that a number of these individuals may actually be terrorists coming in under the guise of either Fulani headsmen or people seeking refuge in Ghana? What's the risk level here? How credible is the threat?
Well, Evans, we do a lot of things and we act on intelligence. And so it is where the intelligence directors, that is where we go. And, intelligence is telling us communities in which these people are being harbored or communities where they are. And so obviously we know what it means to have terrorists in your environment. It is obviously a worrying thing. And so I cannot say that on a scale of 10, I will put the risk level at, say, 6 or 7, because the situation is still being analyzed, and we are doing that minute by minute, day by day. And so we are monitoring the situation. But be it as it may, if even it is still on a scale of 10, it is 1. It is not what we want. It is not something that we will sit and look on. It is something we will have to act. And so the call on Ghanaians to report whatever they see, whatever they hear in the security services. Evans, if it was important yesterday, it is more important today.
Thank you very much. That is the Deputy Defense Minister there. Albert Young with Wanab is with me. Albert, you've heard the Deputy Interior Minister. What do you make of the approach?
Let me say that some of the concerns or security happenings that an earlier speaker talked about, I guess probably from the Upper East Regional Security Council or police, are some of the data that we also gathering in terms of the challenges that communities are confronted with in those enclaves or at-risk border communities. I would say that I assume the security apparatuses have done their analysis, intelligence, and then probably are deploying the strategies that they are deploying. And indeed, I think about a week or so, there was another interview that Joy, you engaged us. And I did indicate that to what extent, I asked the question, to what extent, are the security agencies profiling those who are coming in, and especially those that are coming and living with families, that those family members may not have the capacity to identify certain tendencies that are synonymous of terrorist activities, and some of them are coming in through unapproved routes. On a daily basis, we cannot track that, Now, I would say that if we are having some uncertainty about elements within the communities, and some are living in hinterlands that even community members do not have associations with them. Now, it might be prudent to help or assist them to go back, and then we have a proper way of getting those who are genuinely seeking kind of assistance because of the push from their own countries to come into the country, into Ghana. Let's not forget, as we say, we probably are not facing a situation today, so we should be mindful that, God forbid that it happens, that other people are facing a situation that they are seeking support. And so it might not be their fault, those who are genuinely seeking that kind of support that we may provide at the moment. But I think that in that kind of repatriation or profile, they need to be able to identify any linkages that those that they suspect are terrorist elements, or that have tendencies or they are uncertain about how they have come in, whether there are linkages with people outside, the country. Because if care is not taken, we may as well repatriate people who really have such tendencies or linkages, and that may even be more detrimental to us.
And talking about assistance, I've just been joined by the Executive Secretary of the Ghana Refugee Board, Mr. Tetepadi, and they have actually been documenting those here seeking refuge and legally tagged as genuine refugees. It joins us with an update on that as well. Mr. Paddy, this is something that you've been doing, and last time you shared with us the numbers. Whilst the Defense Ministry is looking to repatriate those who may have infiltrated the ranks and may have, wrong motives, Tell us about the refugee, situation, and those you've managed to screen yourself and clear that indeed they have the right to stay on the refugee status.
Right. Thanks, Evans. So, just as I've been saying, we have been working with the UNHCR to locate the refugees or the asylum seekers, because that is what they are for the moment, away from border areas as advised by security. Unfortunately, I have been quoted on my journal line as warning of a security threat, and I think that's inappropriate and unfair because I'm not a security person, so I think that should be corrected. But having said that, we have set up a transit center, and the policy is to move refugees away from the border areas, very close to the border, and that is what we are doing. Working with UNHCR, we also have plans of setting up a semi-permanent settlement for the asylum seekers from Burkina Faso until such a time that peace returns their home country and they can return. But we are in the process of moving these individuals away from the border areas, mainly because, number one, the absorption capacity of the host communities are not enough to take. There's not enough for them to absorb large numbers of people. They simply will not be able to cope if there's a huge influx. And then secondly, their presence along the border areas. It's a principle in refugee management not to keep asylum seekers and refugees close to borders, areas bordering countries that they have fled from. So it's not new, and that is what we seek to do.
Okay, thank you very much. That's Tete Paddy there with the Ghana Refugee Board. Earlier he had Abba Yel Yang. He is with the West African Network for Peace Building. So live here on Newsnight. It's Enjoy 99.7 FM. A few of your views on the story, particularly with the minorities' predicament in Parliament when it comes to solidarizing with their members who are on trial. Musa Abatwa in Asawase says, I do not think this issue demands too much controversy. If boycotting Parliament means MPs should attend and get out of the House, then what they should do is come into Parliament in the morning, sign the attendance book, and go back to court and support their colleagues. This one from Promise in Keta says, still the people of Lulubi, Ekbafu, and Santrokofi and Likwe Volta region are denied an MP, and they want the MPs to also fight for them. And the final one from Prince in Koforia says the Speaker must grant the minority MPs in Parliament the permission to support their sin-of MP anytime he goes to court. George Yaffe is here with the very latest from the world of business. Hello, George.
Hi, Evans. And there's a new date that the Finance Minister will be presenting the mid-year review of budget estimate. That is July 25. After the Speaker of Parliament directed that the July 27 date should be changed because the House go on recess on August 3. And rising food prices again pushes inflation rate to just under percent for the month of June to 42.5%. Also hear what is accounting for this increment as Evans, tea and related items, as well as granates witnessed over 100% jump compared to that of last year. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Allianz Life and Ghana Pay.
If home is where the heart is, then let's go home, shall we? Let's go where the entertainment is, where the passion is, where the laughter is. And sometimes, even the tears too. Let's go where we feel safe enough to share our opinions.
And send tweets.
Where we do that embarrassing little dance to our favorite song. Let's go home where the love, the care, and the joy live.
There
There's no place like home. Connect your home to super fast internet with affordable data bundles from MTN Home. Visit broadband.mtn.com.gh or your My MTN app to sign up today. MTN.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kindle Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks, and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom, and my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first point of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Osu Akwaje, or our office near the Osu Stadium. We're also in Tema Community 1, opposite Olam SHF, Kumasi KNUST campus, UCC Cape Coast, and now at the Marina Mall, Airport City. Or call us 0302 764101, 764209, or 762792. Visit our website www.kingdomgh.com.
No matter your water needs, Syntex has it all. Syntex Tank was first to introduce double layer tank, and now you can have as many layers as you want. Syntex Tank was first to introduce white inner layer tanks in Ghana, and now introduces the customer specs order, which will let you order any color and size you want. Syntex Tanks gives you the biggest warranty of 7 years, which no other tank gives you. So whatever your water consumption, size of project, or demand, choose Syntex Tank. Syntex Tank, stress-free. Syntex Tank, reliable. Syntex Tank, maximum guarantee. Call 0244 335 168, Kumasi 0505 555 666, or visit syntexgh.com. Syntex Tank, a year strong, a year tough. Do you know Flamingo Paint has superior properties than any other paint brand on the market? Listen, when you take 1 bucket of Flamingo Paint, it's equal to several buckets of any paint brand on the market. So, Flamingo has superior hiding properties, superior coverage, it means it covers, and superior durability. Flamingo Paint, superior hiding. Flamingo Paint, superior coverage. Flamingo Paint, superior durability. Flamingo Paint, simply superior.
Media Sambisanda Moa. It's your Ratiano, Moo, I panic to be fit. No Podom Pemo Maniacono. Eh, Quabna. No Moo wants to be just my memory in that day. Eh, and the crow. Cobble to me, number don't be sense or you super excellent ever. I had a binding the Braille. Who see it in a mobile? Now, some man are holding it. Sir, I now could you soon use super excellent Chaco. Then, dear, a mouse, and we are crazy fit of that. Now, what you ask you about your mother feel you. Kojo, sir. Yeah. Pepsodent Heba and a Pepsodent Charcoal. A idea. You're gonna natural.
FDIJ Trading Katuyatu.
You're welcome back to Business on Newsnight. The mid-year budget review will now be presented on Tuesday, July 25, 2023. This was after the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Babin, directed the executive to review the date because Parliament to be going on recess on August 3, 2023. Let's hear from the Speaker of Parliament.
I'm aware wrong information from this house got to the executive and they had agreed to fix the submission of the mid-year budget review and supplementary budget on the 27th of this month. I drew the attention of the executive to the fact that Parliament is rising on the 10th, and so if you submit such a budget on the 27th, that will be too late. It will be too late for the consideration of the House. So they had to revise the timetable, and I said the latest that the budget could be submitted is the 25th of this month, 25th. So they were compelled to call a cabinet meeting for today instead of tomorrow, even though there are other reasons. But this is one of the reasons. And the ministers are to be present for some of the discussions.
And that is the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Babi. Meanwhile, finance lecturer, that is Professor Lord Mensah, says we should expect a major review when the finance minister appears before Parliament for the mid-year review of estimates.
Now we're looking at taxes and then possibly short-term financing. The long-term financing is no more, and then also being, hold up at the Eurobond market. I'm expecting that, at least we'll limit our, expenditure on the capital, investment, because as we speak now, government can only raise money on short-term basis, and you can't use short-term, funds for long-term investment. So I'm expecting major review, and a review that will reflect, the IMF, deal.
Professor Lord Mensah is an economist, and rising food prices again push inflation rate for the month of June up, though marginally. Now, figures released by the Ghana Statistical Service show that it went up by just under 1% to hit 42.5%. Details in this report.
The Ghana Statistical Service data showed that food inflation for the month of June went up by more than 3% to hit 54.2%. This was influenced by significant increases in items like smoked fish and fresh tomatoes. Food and non-alcoholic beverages, housing and transport were also major factors in terms of the overall increase in the inflation rate for the month of June. The data again revealed that if you compare the rates of increase from April to May and May to June 2023, there has been a marginal drop in the month-on-month inflation. Once again, the general price levels for imported items was the highest as it stood at 44.7%. Personal care and social protection were also some of the items that pushed up inflation marginally for the month of June. However, since the general price level has declined at the month-on-month level, one can say that the outlook for inflation might not be that bad. It is also interesting to note that recent hikes in transport fares and utility tariffs have not impacted on inflation levels.
And that is the business textbook. Let's get to another developing story where the deputy ranking member of the Finance Committee of Parliament, Isaac Adongo, has criticized the governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, for failing to file the financial statements of the central bank for almost 6 months now. The MP said the law mandates the Bank of Ghana to gazette its assets and liabilities every 15 days and file this financial statement by the end of the month, but the Bank of Ghana has failed in complying with this directive. Let's get onto the line and get the thoughts of the Director of Research at the Bank of Ghana, Philip Abrodotu. Sir, thank you so much for your time. And let me find out from you, why has the Bank of Ghana failed to comply with the law as been pushed by the Deputy ranking member of the Finance Committee?
Well, George, thank you very much. I think our attention has also been drawn to this press engagement by a member of parliament that the bank has failed to file its financial statement for 2022 beyond the stipulated time required by the law. But I think the bank wishes to inform the general public that if you look carefully at Section 58 1B of the Bank of Ghana Act, it requires us to submit to the Minister of Finance an annual report of the bank for the year and publish same within 6 months from the end of the financial year to which the annual report relates. I think the key issue here is the reporting obligation is to the Finance Minister. And recognizing this fact, the Bank of Ghana informed the Finance Minister on June 23rd, 2023, to explain the challenges of the external auditors due to the domestic debt exchange and the delay in the publication of the financial accounts. So we've informed the minister of our inability to publish the report, and it's all because of the domestic debt exchange and the delays. There is a copy of this correspondence to the Minister of Finance.
And have you communicated this information to Parliament as well in terms of the challenge that you had in publicizing or sending this information to the Ministry of Finance?
No, so if you look at the way it works, our obligation is to the Finance Minister, who then lays this to the floor of Parliament. But I think, George, we wish to assure the public of our reputation and will continue to maintain high standards of professionalism in the discharge of our duties to the bank.
And that is the Director of Research at the Bank of Ghana, Philip Abrodotu, with that clarity on why they have delayed in sending those financial statements to Parliament. But rather say that should be done to the Minister of Finance. And that's all for Business on News Night.
Daniel Cranting is here with sports. Hello, Dan.
Hi, Evans. Let's go straight into the stories. In the Ghana Football Association earlier today launched the National Football Philosophy through its technical directorate, dubbed Ghana's Football DNA. The document is a fruit of 2 years of work by the directorate, led by its director, Bernard Lepet, in the development of what the FA president described as the greatest gift to Ghana's football. It was concluded that Ghanaian players lack certain key qualities required in the modern game. GFA President Keto Kreko explained that the philosophy is a joiner between Ghana's agro football and Sam Ade's multi-system and will be used at the national team level as well as the youth level.
The DNA will be used at the national team level, and then obviously what that means is that we're going to train all our instructors to adopt the DNA. It will also be used at our soon-to-be established FA academies. And the academies obviously would involve our students. So at the national level, that's the way we're going to apply the DNA. Obviously at the club level, every club has their own DNA. Okay, so you can't force our national DNA on the clubs. But if a club decides to adopt the DNA of Ghana to be their DNA, it's allowed. Okay, so yes, the DNA will be used at all fronts at the national level, including at our academy level.
GFA President Keto Kreko. That's all for sports, brought to you by Pepsodent Herbal and Charcoal. Pepsodent, every smile matters. Back to you, Evans.
Thank you, Dan. Still live here on Newsnight. It's on Joy 99.7 FM. Now, the decision to deliver a baby through cesarean section or opt for a vaginal delivery is a significant choice for expectant mothers. Now, while vaginal delivery is the natural and most common method of childbirth, an increasing number of women are opting for cesarean section. Now, my colleague Karen Obeng explores some of the reasons why some women choose cesarean sections over vaginal delivery.
A baby is delivered through cesarean section. The mother is relieved. She had endured long hours of labor, and finally, the doctor decided to remove the baby surgically. A gynecologist at the Rich Hospital, Dr. Richard Apiankroma, explains why many women are choosing cesarean section over vaginal delivery.
Technology has made CS, to be very frank, very, very simple. So we counsel them thoroughly. We let them know that these are the risks involved. Some of them just need close monitoring and they'll deliver beautifully. That is what we need in Ghana. And monitoring goes with staff and equipment and so many things, and that's what we are lacking.
Over the years, regional anesthesia, including spinal and epidural anesthesia, have also been developed and become popular methods of relieving pain and improving outcomes after cesarean section. The World Health Organization recommends that cesarean section be performed only when medically necessary.
So I chose to do an elective CS because I think I had some fears about doing the natural labor I have heard many stories from friends, from family, of how women have had to endure severe pain without any form of pain management during labor, and really I wanted to avoid that experience.
But this is just one reason some women will consider cesarean section. Others want surgical removal of their babies because they believe spontaneous vaginal delivery loosens the vaginal wall. It is one of the reasons all manner of concoctions and creams are available on the market to help women tighten their vaginal walls.
Carrying or being filed that report. It's still live here on News 90s on Joy 99.7 FM. Now, drivers and sellers have reoccupied the Kwame Nkrumah Circle less than 24 hours after the Accra Metropolitan Assembly decongested pavements and other unauthorized areas they were using for business. Hours after scores of security guards cleared the streets at Circle in a special operation by the AMA to decongest the city, the drivers and the traders returned. One of the affected drivers revealed how the operation is affecting their business.
If you are moving from Accra to this area, the policemen and security will tell you not to alight any passenger unless you move to Caprice. They claim this place is not a bus stop, but it is where we will still alight. They claim this place is not a bus stop, but it is. We will still alight people here. This is where the passengers are supposed to alight. The station was at the top and they asked us to bring it here. And this is a bus stop. Moving to car price will affect the passengers. As you can see, they are sacking us, but this is where all passengers board their cars.
Well, the mayor of Accra, Elizabeth Sassy, insists the exercise will be sustained.
What we've tried to do is we are placing our task force. Everybody will have somewhere to stand, but that wouldn't be a continuous thing, because when they get used to the system and get used to the people, definitely the people will start to contaminate and corrupt them. So we're not going to do that, but we'll reschedule them anytime and we'll get a timetable for them.
Elizabeth Sassy is the mayor of Accra. Now let's do some politics now. Now, the MPP, the governing New Patriotic Party's second highest decision-making body, will be determining the fate of 10 presidential hopefuls who were just recently vetted. Ahead of that, we've been hearing from the General Secretary of the party, Mr. Kojo Frimpong, who says the council, the National Council of the party, will be fair in its decision.
The recommendation by the vetting committee is not binding on national. The National Council is the second highest body of the party. Maybe they may be privy to certain information that the vetting committee didn't have, and nothing stopped the National Council from varying the recommendation of the vetting committee.
Well, we've been hearing also from one of the presidential hopefuls, a flag bearer aspirant, Dr. Konedo Aperku, a former trade minister under the Kufuor administration. He's been talking about how he's been sidelined by Kufuor after promising him ministerial appointments in his government.
Campaign manager for Mr. President Kufuor in 2008. 2012, I was in charge of security. And the last one that I did not have any position, I worked very hard. I went to everywhere that I could go, but I was not offered any position.
Would you have wanted one?
Obviously, if it was offered to me, yes, I would have accepted it. I mean, if one that I wanted was offered to me, or one that I could have made.
What did you want?
No, well, my background is in finance, economics. So any of those finance related, I've been a trade minister before. I've been a member of parliament.
You would have preferred a trade minister and Akufo-Addo's government?
I would not have preferred a trade minister because I've been a trade minister. And
finance minister?
Well, my background, I wouldn't have mind at all.
You would have accepted it?
Yes.
But he stuck with Kenneth Furiata?
Yes. So I had to find a job. And so I don't understand. It's not a betrayal. If anything at all, it should be the reverse.
That they betrayed you?
Well, whatever you want to, they did not find a use for me. A use for me that was appropriately packaged.
Did you make yourself available?
I was available very much, and there's no doubt about that. But these are private issues.
The president is your friend. You served with him.
Well,
you could
more
have
than
him.
a friend.
You could have
more
called
than
him.
we are just like brothers at one point. Yeah, for me to have his confidence.
How do you feel when you were ignored?
When I was ignored? Well, they didn't say you are ignored. They say that you get this and this and this, and it keeps going off.
And that is Dr. Konedo Aperku, who is a former trade minister under the Kufuor administration. And that's it for News Night tonight. Here with me, though, is the woman who is large and in charge. Always.
What's up? What's poppin'?
Strong and sassy.
You see, how are you, Evans?
I'm doing well.
Have you ever had a woman cheat on you?
I don't know.
That's a good answer.
Of course.
That's a very good answer. I mean, and
you know.
And no would have been a bit presumptuous.
Exactly.
Because statistics show that women actually cheat more than men, except that they don't get caught as much.
You're right.
But anyway, tonight we're having the conversation about why do women double date. We're calling it double dating.
You're not calling it
We're
cheating.
not calling it cheating.
If you're talking about this, if it had to do with men,
it would be cheating,
I bet
right?
you'd have used the word cheat.
Oh, well, we're still fighting for equality, aren't we?
Really?
So tonight we're talking about why some women who are in committed relationships
double date
other men. What's the reason?
You've made it so innocent. Because double date is just go for a drink. I can have a date with you.
Right. No.
It'll be innocent. There'll be no problem with it.
No, what we mean is why do some women see more than one man or are involved with more than one man? You know,
I submit to you.
Yes,
you are misrepresenting the issue in this conversation.
And News Night is over. So like you said, it's time for Strong and Sassy. So stay tuned.
Please, I apply to be part of the panel.
You're